tied to an individual or a company. The only thing here the government wants to do is to popularize the individual section of TIN, because prior to this time it used to be something that is just for corporate organizations. Right now they want to do for individuals. And I just want to speak generally on tax. Tax is one of those ways government raise fund for itself from among the citizens, whether from individuals or corporate organizations. So it is not a bad thing for people to have TIN. It is not a bad thing for people to be taxed. It is how people are taxed that is an issue. How people are taxed in a particular economy.
And how the taxed money is used.
Yeah, and I don't want to go into the nitty-gritty because you just asked a very simple question.
Okay, yes,
one of the things that is scaring Nigerians is when you say that when you don't declare your tax or you don't pay your tax, the government has a right to go into your bank account and then deduct the tax by itself. I think something we have to look at.
We're sure going to look at those implications.
When we get there.
Yeah, Felix, let's look at the tax identification number, the implications. Give us an overview of your understanding. That's what we need to do first. Then we'll go to the nitty-gritty. What's your understanding of the tax identification number?
Yes, my brother, the last week have just told us briefly about what it meant. Well, you see, Nigerians, we have to be digital. I think that is the essence of it. It's just like what we know about it is, one, to popularize it. Secondly, to bring it down to the low-income earners. Because most of the people that are familiar with this, the tax issue are the corporate entities. But this time around, the government wants to make sure that everybody is involved, both low-income earners or others. It will be so, it's not, at the stage Nigeria is just not feasible to see people rushing to do things. Politicians, everybody, it is only when you need something to do with tax that you rush down. And by the time you meet the protocols, you start complaining. But when you have your tax identification number, it makes it easier for you to do whatever you want to do. You want to get yourself involved in business, you want to pay you want to get yourself involved in politics, you want to get yourself involved in housing and every other contract projects, every other thing. Once you have your number, it is easier for you to engage, to get yourself engaged, and it is faster. Unlike when you begin to face hurdles.
Sorry, before I let you continue, I'm coming to Bandi. There are two statements I want our listeners to really understand. You say it will be easier to get contract and it will be faster. Can you elaborate on how? Are you saying, I'm coming, are you saying Nigerians have not been doing contracts, or are you saying it has not been easy for Nigerians to access funds? I want to really know why you think with the tax identification number, certain issues will be a lot easier. I need to understand.
If you want to get yourself, for instance, now you want to embark in a project, and definitely for you to get yourself, for you to get started, you need to pay your tax. It may be one of the criteria that is being required from you to get access to that, to whatever you want to do. You are a contractor. Definitely you know that you must have pay your tax, and before you pay your tax, there's a process. You can't just go to the bank or to the tax offices and say you want to pay your tax. You can do that, but it takes time. But when you have your tax identification number, it's just what I mean by digital process is that once you know your number, it is easier for you to access whatever you want to do.
Okay.
And pay wherever you are, either through online, either through, you don't even need to go to the offices and start stressing yourself.
Let's understand it a lot better. Bandi, let me come to you. I'm sure our listeners will want to, viewers will want to come to comprehend, because the emphasis from Igbekoye is when you have your tax, a lot of things have been easier. Nigeria have been doing businesses before this issue of tax identification number. And now the government is talking about tax identification number. Please, can you give us an overview and the implications of tax identification number, and if it's a true reflection of the right policies of government?
Well, I think I like the way you frame the question, and I think I also like more the way my first comrade, responded to that. And in summary, he says it's not whether you are going to pay tax, but how it is paid, and then in additional what it's used for, to pay the tax money to be done. That's the most the most striking issues. I'm surprised. I would say I'm positively surprised that my two comrades seems to not have any issue with the introduction of the tax identification number, which is actually, like I said, positively surprised. And it just enlightened us that Nigerians are actually very, very good people who are willing to follow good policies when we have one. So my issue is not really whether we are going to have tax this, tax that. I think what I feel worried about in Nigeria that we are not lacking so much good policies. We are lacking implementation. We have the BVN, we have the NIN, we have the BEVA, we have the voting cards. Now we're having tax ID. I mean, for me, we have a lot of issues that we have not resolved. So for me, if all the explanation, I don't want to repeat them, of my two esteemed guests, co-panelists have actually mentioned, then I think there's nothing to. We need a tax reform in Nigeria, and I think the tax identification is actually part of the tax reform in Nigeria. My worry is how is it going to be implemented? Have they given us enough information to know exactly if it's for only the corporate or the private individual? That we don't know. Unfortunately, this is not the first time that we're having a new reform that probably might look positive in the forefront, but we have we lack the details to understand what's all about. So that's my worry.
Quite an incisive one. If you're just joining us, as the faculty on Delta Broadcasting Service, Television Asaba, a public affairs program every weekday. Interestingly, we're looking at tax reforms, tax identification number, the matters arising, and we've had three great men training insight into. Now, I picked so much from what the three of you have brought out, and I want to base my next question on this. And Chika Omoso, we're looking critically. You sounded excited, same with Igbekoye, talking about the tax identification number, its implications, and how, especially our brother Congress Igbekoye, how it would really help in transforming our business climate. But then, I have a caveat. We talked about security challenges with the national identity number and the NIM number and the BVN that will help in nipping insecurity in the board. And today, those are two policies that never came to light. We equally look at, like you said, the BVAS, a policy that could help structure our electoral process towards positivity, and it never came to light. Are we a country that is good at policy formulation and policy implementation becomes a problem? I want to have an understanding, Chika Omoso, on going forward, how realistic is the tax identification number towards transforming the tax ratio index of Nigerians?
What separates leadership from, every other thing is reality, implementation of things. It separates us from theory and, reality. It's leadership that makes the difference. Because in theory, you can say a lot of beautiful things, but leadership is what now transforms that thing. It exercises what you have learned in the theory, whether it is workable with the situation of things in the country. And one of the interesting things I've heard in this conversation is the fact that we have BVAS, we have BVN, because I have said in this studio that this country is a very funny country. I'm looking forward to synergy in the first place, where if you want to do a registration, for example, in the bank, if they ask you for your TIN, it will link to every other thing. They will not ask you for BVN, they will not ask you for this number, they will not ask you, or if you give them BVN, that BVN should link you to everything.
Or if you give them NIM.
That's the idea of all of these things. But surprisingly, even in years to come, I don't want to mention number of years, you will go to the bank, they will still ask you for your voter's card or your NIM, ask for your name. If you ask me for my name, once you put it somewhere, you should have all my details. There should be synergy, there should be link. That's what I want to see. Not this registration here and there. I only defended tax identification number, not to say that the policy is so good. And I said in passing that it is not the tax. Tax is one of the things government must do to get money from the people, but how they are taxed. Because one of the things this government has done is to look at the theory. What is the theory of how government can generate money? They have been very clever at driving towards raising money, getting money from the people, doing policies that will increase their income, but we have not seen on ground the reality of these things. For example, when you remove subsidy, we're still looking for the benefits of this subsidy removal. When you raised electricity bill, we're still looking for the benefit. The theory is that when you do this, this will happen. But it doesn't seem to happen. You do tax. In fact, it's a very funny government. And I said in passing too, that a lot of company has TIN, but they have not paid tax. So again, it's not the policy, it's not registering, getting TIN number that is the issue. How is it going to be implemented? Would it be done effectively and efficiently such that as you get this TIN number, we will be taxed maybe progressively? I think that's the best form of tax, even though it discourages hard work, that if I have more, I will pay more. But then it will make for, if it's a country that is working, equitable distribution of wealth. Because if I'm working for you and you're not paying me well, at the end of the day, all of this money that you get, that is, if government is also able to track it, you will pay it in tax. So you want to distribute that money so that, okay, at the end of the day, if I have 1 million, I'm to pay 100,000, and I have 900,000, I'm to pay 90,000. Why not give you your extra 10,000? And let's just distribute it and make more money for ourselves. But the big question is implementation. After tax registration, which way forward? Would they follow it up? Would it be a jamboree? Would this be another distraction from the government? Because I know Nigerians, very soon everywhere will be talking about tax TIN number, how to register, and then government will want to show that they are government.
We have
because one of the problems we have is we are a people who know our rights, but we don't do our tasks. And it happens in both ways. The individuals want to say, this is my right. For example, government cannot enter my account and deduct my money. But you will not go and register and pay your tax. And now government will take tax, which is their right. But they will not do their task of giving back to the people the benefits of the tax. So it's a complex situation. I don't know where we'll start from.
The complicity of government in tax revenue usage. Nigerians are stalled and they are limited in their opinion especially against the government's tax reform, saying that government has not really shown enough in the usage of taxable income. Civil servants are taxed pay as you earn. Informal sector, they're equally being taxed. Now, people are crying. The Nigerians are crying. Now, you want to come with tax identification number. What has this tax been used for? The infrastructure is decayed. The road network, there's insecurity. Now, how do we correlate the government craving for more tax on the people vis-a-vis infrastructure development and insecurity management, and you name it? How does government justify its taxes?
Well, it is unfortunate, let me put it that way, that a lot of policies are coming up. At the same time, there is something I refer to by policy somersault. Because when you look at the government bringing in different ways, the government will come out today and say, we have raised our internally generated revenue to so billions. We have been able to acquire this, acquire that. But we are not seeing anything on the ground. If at all we are seeing anything on the ground, it's not commensurable with what they told us they are getting. So the policy starts with from what I call refer to the other time as some policy somersault, because when the government, they don't believe that government is continuous. The policy will come out today, tomorrow another government or another government official or another politician will come, put it aside, start his own just to make a name, frustrate the other policy, and at all you are wasting this the taxpayers' money, because once you abandon a project, you started If the past government started the project, another government abandoned it. Well, what happened to the money you spent to execute that project? So what we are saying is necessary is that government should try as much as possible. If policies are coming up, apart from implementation, let us see what is being used for. The roads are there. People are complaining no road. People are there. You travel, you waste a lot of work. The journey that is supposed to take you an hour, you end up spending 3 to 4 hours. Look at education. Education policy today, another policy tomorrow. Changes coming up every day. And when you have change policy, you automatically waste people's the money you have spent on it. So if policies are coming up, it's that the change issue is coming up. But the way I look at it is just for the low-income earners. You will discover that people they are targeting are the low-income earners. The corporate entities are not paying, and even though they are paying, they are not disclosing the entire dividend they are getting. So what the target is, apart from the civil servants, which is the tax is automatic, it pay as you earn, but they see the low-income earners are not paying, and that is why they are introducing it. They can easily get the corporate entities, get the corporate and big establishments. But the low-income earners are their target that they stick. This is the only way they can get access to them, because one, virtually everybody has account number with the bank, have an account with the bank, and we get to a point that they will tell you that without your TIN, you can't access your money, you can't do anything. And so the essence, as far as I'm concerned, the low-income earners, and that is what I pray that if at all they succeed in getting that, they should use the money effectively for the benefit of
effectively for the benefit of the low-income earners, and that's Igbeko's objection, or rather narration there. And I'm coming back to you, Bandy. I want to look at the critical and objective analysis of tax reforms, and I want us to come to understand truly. Now, when you look at the government, it's expected that the government reciprocates the citizens with infrastructure development, housing, education, healthcare, security, and you name it. But I come with the caveat. A major problem of taxes and taxable income generation for government institutions and agencies has been leakages. Leakages come in multifaceted forms. Leakages through private pockets or proxy institutions, leakages through looting and stealing, leakages through the banks, and people have not been held accountable. Now let's tackle the issue of leakages of taxes or taxable income on the part of government, from our borders to our ports to our airports, you name it, to Nigeria. Before I come to the main question, Nigeria has one of the highest number of private jet owners in the world. That means these people pay for landing costs at the airport every day. So how do we tackle leakages? Because it's not just taxing the average poor man or the average Nigerian worker when the wealthy are living off the poor. So how do we protect our taxes?
Yes, thank you. I'm very happy that I listened to my co-panelists for the second round of the question, and I think I got a little bit relief because what I had from the first round of the question was a kind of praises for the government. And again, picking up from where my comrade also stopped from, he said leadership. Leadership is not only about implementation. I just want to add to that. Leadership is about serving the people, making sure that the people you lead, benefit from the good, whatever, good things that come out of the leadership. You basically, had made a lot of sense in your roundup. I will give you 2-3 critical examples. I was fortunate to be the leader or the chairman of Nigerians in Diaspora organization, protecting the interests of our 6 million Nigerians. And when they introduced the NIN, we are told, about the implication for, development, capturing the diaspora population and the rest of them. I personally introduced the enrollment of the Nigerians in diaspora, targeting about 30 million Nigerians in the diaspora to enroll into the NIN. Basically, when we started, we had only about 2 or 3 agencies, and one of them was BioSec, which was actually the pioneer of that process. As I speak today, NIN is one of the money machine of the federal government of Nigeria, targeting mostly the diaspora, because the NIN in Nigeria, they don't pay for that, or I don't know if they are paying now, but basically they were not paying much. While the diaspora are paying between $50 and $70 per enrollment. Before you know it, because we're the engine house of the government, before you know it, we have hundreds of agencies today to capture that. And because we have a lot of agencies capturing that, we have the leakages coming in. Now, half of the thing that they are earning from there is going to the private pocket and not to the. So sometimes I see all these reforms as an avenue to make money for government cronies and their supporters. I was listening to the former Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Atiku. He said that they actually initiated the subsidy removal and not the present government. But they started it bit by bit. And he gave a very critical example. That when they started it, the first thing that they called is the critical stakeholders, including the labor, and said, okay, we're going to have a minimal withdrawal of the oil subsidy. What do you want in exchange? And after some long consultation, the labor said, okay, provide for us mass transit for the labor union to cushion the effect of the removal. And it was done. I didn't hear any widespread agitation on that and the rest of them. Now, the second example I'm actually going to give you, starting from the January, the diaspora who have remitted billions of naira and dollars, keeping this country afloat from bankruptcy, will be taxable citizens from next year. Now again, like my comrade said, it's good to widen up the tax net to get everybody to involve. But at the same time, these are the diaspora that are not allowed to vote in the national election. So you want our money is good enough for the government, our vote is not good enough for the government. So you see, this double standard in government approach is what worries me. And from what I actually read, part of my party, I'm a former deputy national chairman of African Democratic Congress, ADC. And our party reacted with the MOE, with a France institution, to involve in our tax reforms. And you call back to say that most of the French, related activities, especially in the financial areas, across all the French West Africa, are basically chasing out the French and their companies because of the fact that they are not transparent enough in dealing with our national with their national resources and management, and yet we have our government telling us because of the tax reforms, they are now going to invite the same country that most people are. And you ask yourself, is that a matter of transparency, or is just to settle some political? And when we realize that our president actually have 90% of his vacation in France, and yet tying our tax ID to France, then one begin to wonder, like you said. At the end of the day, again, back to what I've started from, leadership. If, as we speak today, we have a 24/7 light, we have our network is working without any problem, our hospitals are no longer consultation facilities, then we can begin to say that the government also have a right to generate revenue. But we have realized that from the tax removal, from the subsidy removal, to the increase in electricity, to increase in all the increasables, we have not seen a commensurate return in the activity of that. So it worries me. It worries me that Nigeria have a very fantastic policies formulation, but implementation, to go back to my comrade, how do we implement it and how does it affect the common man, remain the critical question.
Yes, how it affects the common man remains a critical question. And also, what do you think what should be the expectations of Nigerians, both in the formal and informal sector, moving forward on the tax identification number issue?
It's simple. Just begin to do your registration, because our government, a time will come, and that is what I wanted to say. They will make it compulsory in such a way that if you don't do it, you can't do some basic things. And I wish that the way they will command us to have our tax identification number, we as a people could command the government to do the needful with the tax money, because government is mean. The present government, their target is to make more money. But spending more money, as in using the money well, because it's not just spending. Using the money for the people, it's a problem. It's been a problem. So you should expect that by January, implementation will begin. And don't wait. One of the things I tell people, don't wait until necessity before you get things done. Now do it freely. You don't have to queue up, you don't have to pay. Because if you wait for that government, when they will start their own, you're going to queue, you're going to pay some agencies to get it done. So start doing it now. The portals are open. I think you can begin to do your registrations, and don't be scared. This government, they can start this thing and still abandon it. Even though I look at the Tinubu government as a government that is mean at collecting. They will collect, but don't be scared. There's nothing we can do about it. We have a bad leadership. But as much as the leadership in the country is bad, I think we have a problem with followership in this country. The followers don't know they are right. They are not able to demand anything from their leaders. So the leaders take advantage of them. So if you look at it, well, why people say we have a leadership problem, yes, I agree. But I think the people, the followers too, have a big problem, because you know what? I lead people. When I discover that the people I'm leading know they are right, I'm skeptical about the things I do, the moves I make, the actions I take, because they will call me to order. And if they know that we know our right, that will call them to order, they will sit up. This one that once you belong to a particular party or an ethnic group, you no longer can speak of an ill of a government is bad. We need to stand up and wake up as a nation. No? If we keep going like this, even in the next 50 years, we won't make a difference in the world. But if we keep sitting up, keep working together as one, and knowing our right as a people, our government will not take us for granted. Whether you voted for the government or not, you know, I don't have to vote for a particular government. I didn't vote for Tinubu for him to say I must get my tax identification number. Therefore, I mustn't vote for him to enjoy the benefits of the government.
I mean, voting should
you know, so I mean,
Liberty Section 14, subsection 2B of the Constitution stipulates the role of government over the statutory safety, housing of citizens. So whether you vote for the president or you do not vote for the president, it's your right as a citizen to
enjoy some benefits.
Enjoy all the benefits that accrue from our collective commonwealth. Let me come to you, Igbekoye. We're looking critically at a fundamental issue, which is tax identification number. Now, there's a question I want to ask. I'm an individual that have a registered company with a TIN number, and I'm a civil servant as well. Now, how do I, and my company has a TIN number, do I still have to get a TIN number on as an individual paying, being deducted pay as you earn? We need to really understand for the benefit of our viewers.
Well, from my little understanding is you are a civil servant. You get your salary at the end of every month. Then you have an establishment registered with a corporate name, and you make money, profit. You declare your profit at the end of the year, annually. Definitely, you need to be taxed, because this is you are getting profit in dual capacity as a person. So I think it depends on you how you can reconcile it. But then, what does the law says? As a civil servant, are you supposed to be at the other side, corporate, or at the other time, or you stick to you as a civil servant? So it depends on what the law says. By the time the federal or this government come out with the things and don'ts of the thing, I think we should know where we are going, whether it is lawful or it is unlawful.
Now let's look at some of the clarifications coming from the press release by the Revenue Board. Now the Joint Revenue Board, JRB, reiterates that there will be no restrictions on bank accounts or financial transactions effective 1st January 2026 as been stipulated. It said due to the non-availability of tax IDs. That's one. Then secondly, they said the public should note that no deductions will be made whatsoever from any bank account on the basis of having a tax ID or not. Thirdly, the Joint Revenue Board assures Nigerians that tax ID will be automatically issued to every taxable person using your NIN for individuals and CAC registration number for businesses. Then finally, he said once again, there is no cause for panic as measures are being taken to ensure a seamless retrieval of tax ID? That takes me to my next question, Comrade Honorable Dr. Gbandi. It's shocking. We have always gone through the same ring, the same circle, time and time again. The haste for policy formulation. Now, the tax reforms, if you look at that, the tax IDs are not ready. The government doesn't seem to be ready. Before you come out with a desire for Nigerians to accept or have tax identification number, they must make sure the government is ready, the tax revenue board is ready, and of course the banks are ready. So why this lacuna always in a policy formulation?
Well, it's not surprising. I'm not surprised. That's why, like I said from the beginning, that if you believe everything this administration is saying, then you believe it at your own risk. I mean, let's look at all the policy formulations, the appointment made today. They withdrew it the following day. Look at the ambassadors that waited for about how many years before they appointed. We even had that they have appointed even dead ambassadors. Why do you take so much time for a policy formulation? At the end of the day, you are not even sure it's going to happen. Normally, in civilized society, in Germany, where I was resident for about 30 years, such policy formulation, you put it to the public, you have a rigorous debate, people see the the advantages and disadvantages, and you're able to get everybody sensitized and the awareness created, which is actually one of the basic principles in creating a tax law, so that nobody will fight against it. Then secondly, you make sure that all the institutions relevant for that are ready. Can anybody in this world justify or tell me why they will panic, create panic within the public with the tax identification number? They push it, if you don't register by January, this and that will happen. And they're coming out in December to say that the numbers are not ready, the banks are not ready. And so I don't understand what my comrade called policy somersault, which has been characteristics of this government. And so I beg to say that up till now, I'm still skeptical of most of the reforms that this administration have initiated. Again, some of them are good. One has to be very realistic, and so that some of them are very, very good. But implementation still remains an issue. We have not seen a single policy that they have initiated, and we have seen the gains of such a policies for everybody to say, no, let's give them kudos. They have done very well. My comrade, look at how many pensioners have contributed to the pension scheme till today, and how many of them are being owned their pension scheme as we speak. And so, my take to disagree with my comrade, my first comrade, a little bit. And actually, he said it all when he said that Nigerians are good followers. I think I made it in one of my submissions. We can follow rules and regulations to the best of our ability, and the government are taking advantage of that. But I think I will not encourage us to continue to do that. We need to start asking government questions. I made mention to the issue that the diaspora are going to be taxable citizens from next year. One of the issues we are going to mobilize, the advocacy we will rigorously pursue, is that until we have our voting rights, until the diaspora are included in the political, socio-economic formation of this country, we will use every possible means to fight against that. As we speak, we have a group of lawyers from the diaspora, tax lawyers, who are coming together to examine the legality of taxing the diaspora. If they are not enjoying a certain benefit in this country, why must you tax them? My comrade also mentioned about you're a civil servant, you have a business, and you're working, and he encouraged us that, of course, it's going to be taxed, which is actually expected in a society where things are working. You can imagine a civil servant who probably gets irregular payment or a very menial payment, who is trying to survive by setting up a small company, maybe a fishing company, a pond. Because it is required by the Corporate Affairs Organization, you must register it. Because you have going to register it now, you're going to have a tax identification number. So you are being pushed from both sides. They tax you from here, and where you are trying to survive also, they tax you. So you see, this government is about interested in just collecting. They just want to collect here, collect here. And again, the answers that they've met their target from 15% projected, they met it even 14% over, whatever. And at the same time, we are still unable to see the benefit while we continue to add for foreign loans, breaking every ceiling in terms of. So I am still not satisfied. Thank God that they've said they cannot do all those things, and I hope I will believe them, and I hope I will give them benefit of that. But until then, let them start a vigorous awareness. Who is to be taxed? What is to be taxed? What are the implications? And so on. So before they now hopefully start implementing them, that we know what our rights are. But I will encourage Nigerians, like my first comrade said, that we should begin to ask questions and then, call our representative, whether it's in the House of Assembly or the Federal House of Assembly or Senate, call them to demand questions. They need to have sittings. They need to have open sittings where these issues are clarified for us as common people to understand them. That would be my take on that.
That leads me to one very important question, the issue of tax issues emanating from other sources. Is it right, I'm talking to you right now, Chika, is it right for the government to come at this time, considering the economic climate, the poverty rate, the insecurity, the inflation that Nigerians are going through, you come out with a policy that every Nigerian should start paying tax? For you to come to that level, Nigerians want accountability. We need to know what our money is being used for, our taxable income. We need to know what the Nigerian Ports Authority generates. We need to know what the customs generate. We need to know what our immigration generates. Nigerians are intellectual buffers. We need to be brought into an equilibrium or a status quo where Nigerians will know that, okay, this government is earning this, is generating this from tax, and we'll be happy to continue paying tax or to start paying tax. Where the average GDP of Nigeria is less than 60 cents a day, or the average daily income of Nigeria is less than 60 cents a day, it calls for question. The sensibility and, of course, the sensitivity of our leaders at this time. So, what do you think is rightfully wrong? I say rightfully wrong with this policy.
Maybe I wasn't blunt enough, or I didn't hit the nail on the head when I started. I said tax is one of the ways government raises funds, but it depends on how people are taxed and what the economy is. That's pointing to the fact that this is not a policy for this time.
Not at all.
Because from inception you have been strangulating the people. And when I say Nigerian is a good follower, that's an ironical statement. I mean to say we are bad followers. We don't know what leadership is, what we should demand from our leaders. Some because the honorable is from your village or is your brother.
Is right.
Our senior comrade just said, call your representative. Do we actually have a representative?
Good question.
It took someone outside, a representative outside, to say no, there is killing in this country. While our representatives were jostling from party to party to where they would have a return ticket and all of that, we don't have a representative. And that goes back to the electoral system. See, when I discovered that it's the people that their voice can be heard, they determined my coming here, and they can determine my living here. I will sit up and I will answer to the people. The people know, the so-called representative knows that they are not loyal to you because it's not as if you made them. Some big shots, some of their big shots, as they say, godfathers, they made them, they selected it. Even as democratic as primaries could be, you determine who's going to win primary.
Exactly.
Automatically, the person emerges in the general election, and they do all kind of things, all manner of things to bring the person. This is not the right time for the policy. The country is strangulated. In fact, Nigerians are strangulated. So taxing them more. Yes, I understand that a business and an individual are separate entities. So if you tax an individual, you should tax business because you separate them by law. But I'm saying businesses are not thriving. Individuals are not thriving either. You remove subsidy since the implementation of the new salary scheme, some states have not started. See, we are a country that lack value system, and we don't fight for our right. And as long as we stay like this, domicile, the government will keep doing what they are doing,
and
they will get away with it, and nothing will happen until we're able to come together and say, no, government is like you employ somebody. He must work to be paid, to enjoy these benefits they enjoy in government. So in one word, it is not the right time. It is not the right policy. I strongly condemn it. To begin to take more from the people who are not getting more. To begin to take more from people who are getting less.
That's the way I look at it. As a public affairs analyst and a journalist, veteran, how well has your constituency been vocal against policies of government that are not people-friendly? Because the fourth realm of the estate is part of the problem of Nigeria. They have not spoken out on the shortcomings and the fallacies of government and leadership. What is the media doing, and what is the role of the media in dissemination of true information?
Good. Before I answer that, let me disagree with my brother first.
Okay.
There is leadership in Nigeria, and we have our representatives. The problem is that the direction is safe. Our representatives, do they not have the road to their houses or to their offices? Do their children not go get the best education in Nigeria? Do they not pass the budget? So let us leave that. Then coming to our question, the issue is we are trying our best. It's just like you who pays the piper, dictates the tune. There are some. If I want to answer your question now, you will not allow me because of the fact the establishment.
It's not me that will not allow you. It's not me I will allow you. It's me I will allow you.
We have
suddenly they realize that this is a state-owned TV station.
Okay, you will not invite me tomorrow.
Okay.
Let me So the fact is that we are trying.
But this is also the problem. You are afraid to speak out.
We have raised our trumpet. We are trying our best.
Yes.
Except that I've told you, all the bypass the state too. We are trying our best. Do they listen to us?
No.
Do they give us the environment conducive our environment to air our
Those who are
voices?
looking for freedom don't look for people to give them freedom. You fight for it.
We tell them, we write, we talk, we do everything possible to make sure we bring the necessary change. And we are praying, we are also supporting them to make sure that, I think we support protests. We have tried brought out several strategies to make sure that there is positive change. But then, we are still hoping that
Comrade Bandi, I'm not coming to you. Finally, let's look at the role of the opposition. And it's so unfortunate in policy formulations and implementation. I have seen the quietness of the opposition. Nigerians have postulated that we don't seem to have we don't have capable opposition any longer because the opposition seems to have been killed and there's been so much political prostitution. What should be the role of the opposition in terms of evaluating government policies and the implementation process?
Very, very important. You see, anywhere you lack opposition, you lack accountability. There's no two ways about it. Like my two comrades, agreeing and disagreeing, let me stay in between them. The fact is that, yes, I agree. If you have a representative in Nigeria, do you require a foreign representative to call you to begin to look at whatever is happening? No, it's not possible. Look at the former INEC chairman is now an ambassador. What was Nigerians doing? What are they doing?
Nobody said anything.
Look at Natasha. When he was suspended from the Senate, he took her constituency, the protest, sustained protest for them to recall her back. So yes, we have a say. The opposition has not been doing a great job. I totally agree with you, and I hope that come 2027, that the opposition, that whoever is going to be in opposition, will also hold the leadership accountable.
All right, 2023-6, the opposition should be able to hold their representatives accountable. It's been the very, very great discussion here. We've been looking at the tax identification number, the matters arising. I must appreciate our panelists here. Thank you very much, Honorable Dr. Kenneth Bandi. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, sir.
And of course, Gbekuye, thanks for coming as well. And I'm not forgetting Chika Omoso, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yes, the faculty, like always, will return to the studio again tomorrow. Good afternoon.